All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Committee of the Whole meeting and for Monday, April the 24th, 2023. I'd like to remind everyone, meeting participants, and everybody to be advised the meeting is going to be recorded for public access broadcast. With that, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And can I have an adoption of the agenda, please?
Second.
So moved by Councillor Detory, seconded by Councillor Thorne. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? The agenda is moving forward. Any conflict of interest declarations, there are forms in the middle of the table. Please fill them in and submit them if you do have any against the agenda. And with that, we will move on to new business, sewer collection update.
So this is a quick one. So based on the sewer collections policy that was adopted by council in January, February, earlier this year, the policy commits to a quarterly update to council on collections related to sewer, which is specifically to Ward 3, so the former village boundaries. So basically some Coles notes from the memo to council is that we're kind of just in that second quarter of the year. So sewer bills were mailed in January. Interest started accruing as of March 3rd. And then to date, we look, bear with me here for the numbers, but $375,212.50 was the amount that was billed. And of this, about $65,000 remains in outstanding charges, which continue to come in to date now. And then the next one highlights the amount that's collected today, which is just shy of $319,000. Related to the collection efforts, based on that number, but also previous ones as well. The former council had arrangements in place with a number of different properties around interest relief. And so we're trying to get those cleaned up because the vast majority they are very, very close. And by close, we mean most within, some are under 100, like very, very close to being done. So that those properties will get a notice saying it needs to be done basically ASAP, or they'll be lumped into the rest of the collections process, which will then take us to the process that we're undertaking with the new policy. So with that, there'll be about 15 properties, and we say about in case some of them have paid since we did this memo, basically, that will receive notices that their accounts will be forwarded to the solicitor if no action is taken. So they'll get a deadline. They can either pay in full, enter into a payment plan, or the third option is not hear anything, to which point it goes to the solicitor. We've updated the payment arrangement form to make sure that everyone will be signed off on agreeing to this. There's a maximum now that the payment arrangement plans can go in place for, which is 24 months, which then gives us a prediction to be able to know exactly how much will come in. And also it has a signature ink on paper for residents to sign off on once they enter into an agreement or a payment plan, which will make sure that we can follow up more diligently and take action as needed. And then the policy also commits to essentially quarterly collections updates. So in June, we'll focus on these properties, what goes next, as well as those that are in 2023 and have not yet paid, to avoid them hopefully going into 2024 and so on, also not being paid. And then in September, based on the bylaw that was just passed for first and second reading at the last meeting, we'll look at the schedule, which has the number of units charged per properties, because there are a number of properties that fall within those that are only paying one unit, for example, that according to that bylaw should be paying more. So that will be the focus going into the fall. And that's it for the update for now, unless there are questions on anything to date or anything on the docket in the next couple of months.
Councillor Thorne?
I just had a question with the interest number that you've got in here for the billing cycle, 71,650. Is that interest you've that's been charged?
That's the
I
interest.
don't understand what that is. Is that
65.
cumulative, or is that just this year,
Just
since
this year.
January 1st? And so what?
That's the interest on that 65,000.
65.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just, and that would be as of the date we drafted this memo, so last week. So, and it gets applied monthly, correct? So that's the interest on that 65,000 that's owing
It's a lot of interest.
this year.
I don't know that I get it.
So it's the
So really, you're showing 100 and whatever outstanding on your account, if I was gonna look at your age report, and of that 65 is principal and 71 is interest.
No, because
No.
the interest would be 6,650.26 cents.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it.
Sorry.
Okay.
With interest,
Yes.
that's the
Yes,
total.
yeah.
I forgot the width.
Yeah.
I didn't read the width.
Yes. It's
Holy
not,
smokes, guys, it's been a long day, but I didn't see the width.
there you go. It's not,
You had me worried there. I'm thinking, did I miss that?
No,
I was trying to do the math.
I'm thinking, holy.
sorry, no, it's my
does
bad.
that make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Not as worried now about interest that's never gonna get paid.
No, we should be good
Holy, thanks.
What is the total outstanding altogether?
with all of the
older
accounts.
stuff and the current stuff.
I'd have to get that number to be super sure. We can get it though. We can get it and send another update to council. It's gonna, I would say, in the next memo for sure, what we'll show is because we'll get the interest relief ones gone. Either they will have cleared up their accounts and be off the list, or if they haven't paid their accounts, they'll be lumped into the other ones. That's a bit of an odd one because they're paying off principal balance, but not their interest basically because of the
But
former arrangement.
There's also the judgment accounts and like the total, right?
Yeah.
This
If we
is-
find
It's
a
easy.
little chart that says,
The judgment, this is what's being
yeah,
worked on.
Yeah.
this is current year, this is like, yeah.
We can probably put it into a
in
fun
your
chart,
future
an
quarterly
easier
More of a
way to
fun
look at
chart.
it. Yep. We can do
Can I
that.
ask another question, please?
Sure.
I just want to know how many users, like, it says this is regarding 15 properties, but how many total properties does that number make up?
It goes by unit, so it's not necessarily just properties. So one property could have 3 units, one could have 2, but the number of units in total this year,
Like 1,200.
Yeah.
And something units.
Okay, so the 15 properties doesn't mean it's actually 15 resident properties.
It could.
it could be. Yeah, it could be. We can't get into the specifics of
It
which
isn't,
ones,
because when we
but
were going through it, there are some multiple units in there. There are some, yeah.
yeah.
So every 2 unit, 4 unit, or like 4 apartment
Okay.
building.
Okay, so you're saying, but there's really 1,200 properties,
Order units.
units, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Works.
Item number 2.
No other questions? We're
Oh
good?
my gosh, no.
Okay.
Oh, we've been through this for a long time.
Yeah.
Good job and a nice progress.
Yeah, you guys, actually, you are doing a good job. Yeah.
Presentation, electoral boundary changes, federal and provincial.
Put that up.
Okay, let me-
Sorry.
I was so. This one, right?
Yeah, Microsoft Edge.
And say share, last time I clicked the wrong button.
There. So this was provided to council via email, and we had mentioned that we would bring it back for basically more of a definitive update. So they have at both levels, both provincially and federally, finalized the electoral boundaries, which has implications as it relates to the town. Mostly this will affect from the town's perspective, advocacy and intergovernmental affairs and our voice. And then obviously from a constituent basis, it may or may not, depending on where they are and which level it is, affect who they vote for and which riding, basically. I want to go to the next slide, Diane. So a quick highlight is that these are reviewed every 10 years. In New Brunswick, we just happen to have had both the provincial review at the same time, essentially, as the federal review, which will probably make things a little bit confusing for people. And then, like I mentioned, both provincial and federal will see changes this round. So the federal boundaries, or the changes to the federal boundaries, the town will remain in what is now Fundy Royal. And the biggest, I would say, change for that riding is related to Riverview, so neighboring municipality. All of Riverview will now be in Fundy Royal. That was one of the contested changes, actually, because they used to be split between Fundy Royal and MRD, so Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe. And another big change, almost like the bookends of the larger municipalities, is related to Quispamsis. So now they'll be in a different riding, St. John Kennebecasis. There's a lot of changes to the St. John area as part of this federal review. And so that's the essence of the federal one. If you look on the next page, you can see a map that shows the counties, but also municipalities or names. You can see that they don't have these reflective of the new municipal boundaries provincially. That's because they would use census data, which has yet to be updated for our new boundaries. But from a population perspective, we will fare well, I would say, federally, because we'll be, I'd have to double check the numbers for sure. And again, they don't exist because of the census data, but Riverview is larger, obviously, but with Quispamsis no longer being there, we should be, I think, the second largest municipal entity, which is a good thing when it comes to numbers and rural ridings on the federal side. If you go to the next slide, we dive into the provincial side of things. They did issue a news release today confirming that it was finalized. But last week when we were preparing this presentation, they did basically hint that it would be finalized, but the official release did come today. So right now, today, Salisbury, the new town boundaries is within or overlaps 3 provincial ones, which are Albert, Moncton Southwest, and Petitcodiac Gagetown. The majority of the riding being in Albert, which covers basically from the Big Stop area, that intersection, all the way through, including Salisbury, down through to Albert County, including a portion of Riverview. And the new provincial boundaries will be within Albert, Riverview, and Sussex, Three Rivers. So that's 2 ridings now. There are some shifts in maps, and those are the 2 that we will touch now. If you go to the next slide, we'll dive into the two different ones. So this is the first one that will, again, similar to the federal one, we will have the most populated municipality, and that again is to be confirmed because I don't have the final number for Fundy Albert, but in the province's municipal reform process, they did have it at about 5,800. Then there are less sections of Riverview within the provincial boundaries, and the overall riding elector, so that is a confirmed number from Elections New Brunswick, is 12,906. If you go to the next one, we go to the second one, which is Sussex Three Rivers. So this one, as you can see, has very little of Salisbury comparatively. So we're in the top where the blue is, the blue, aqua, green, whatever you want to call it. The green being Three Rivers, and then the pink being, I think that's part of a rural district as well as the municipality of Sussex. So this is one where we will have, from a numbers perspective, much less of buying power per se. With the total number of electors in that riding being 12,753. If you go to the next slide, it brings us into timelines. So depending on which jurisdiction we're looking at, the federal boundaries were released on April 18th as being final. These boundaries will take effect, the way they have it worded is no earlier than an election held after April 1st, 2024. So if an election is held on March 30th of next year, we'll be within the current riding of Fundy Royal with no changes. If it's held on April 2nd, it will be the new boundaries. So it will all depend on timing, essentially. The provincial boundaries, like I mentioned, were published in a final report, and those will take effect on the next provincial election, which is scheduled to be held on October 21st of 2024, which is next year. And that's basically it for this overview, unless there are questions, comments, concerns of the like related to the boundaries.
Questions? Phyllis, you're good?
I'm perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Item number 3, introduction of fire department policies.
Perfect. So this is an item that we're bringing forward on behalf of the chief, who's had this, who has been back and forth with me on these, as well as the officers at their level, who's proposing 2 different policies for the department to formalize their processes internally. One related to recruitment and appointments of members of the department, and then the other one being related to attendance of members of the department. The main things for the recruitment perspective is to formalize the process. So right now there's a little bit of ambiguity as it relates to when they officially become members. Formerly, they used to have motions of council to welcome them or approve them, I guess. And so the intent of this is to, similar to what we were doing with other policies we brought forward this year, is to kind of streamline that process, whereby they have interviews with the chief, they go on to a probation period. It's all very clearly outlined when you skip from one level to another. The second piece around attendance is while it's a volunteer commitment, they do hold a space, which means they hold gear, they hold locker space, all of the like, when they are a member of the department. And so by the same time, there are people that want to join, which means that there needs to be something on paper. This does change the attendance percentage to reflect the fact that, especially as we get more calls and people have other lives and things on the outside of this commitment, obviously, there needs to be some flexibility there. The process is also outlined where the chief will have those discussions where they're provided their attendance on a regular basis to make sure that they can be met. And it also reflects things like their training evenings, and a percentage for that as well. So they're in the agenda package if there's specific questions. And then as a reminder, when we present them at committee of the whole, we'll go through them again if there's questions from council or changes in direction. And then internally, we'll make sure that it checks the boxes, that there's no changes logistically required. And then pending that, bring it forward to council for official ratification at a later date.
I move that council approve the SFR recruitment and appointment policy and the SFR attendance management policy for ratification at a future council meeting.
I second it.
Moved by Councillor Oblinus, seconded by Councillor Bannister. Questions to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Phyllis?
Do I have to say aye?
Or
Just 'cause
nay?
we can't see you.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. Okay, aye.
Thank you. Contrary minded? So noted, motion carried. Item number 4, under new business, community vegetable gardens, Councillor Dykstra.
So Councilor Dykstra is not here this evening.
Okay, so
That will
we'll
just table it for a future meeting. Yeah.
We'll table to another meeting with that.
We need a motion to table it, not if it's a committee of the whole. We can
Yeah.
just shift it. Yeah.
With that, we are for contractual 68(1)(c) local governance act. We will need a motion to go into close.
So moved.
So moved by Councillor Thorne, seconded by Councillor Oblinus. We are all in favor?
Aye.
We are now in
Thank you.
close. Do I have a motion to resume?
Do we have to do a wait?
Okay,
Yeah.
we're now back in regular council session. With that, I would like to a motion to adopt into the agenda item number 4, community vegetable gardens. I need a motion to add that back in.
So moved.
So moved by Councillor Thorne, seconded by Councillor Dykstra. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, we have 2/3 consent, so we'll move forward with that item. Councillor Dykstra, the community vegetable gardens.
No specific plan, just if there is an opportunity to have a space designated for any of those interested in. They don't have their own personal space to be able to do so, or would like to have the opportunity to work together with community gardens, then that could be a wonderful idea to have a designated space for anyone interested in doing so.
Do we not already have a designated space in the boxes behind the building?
They've been maintained by the food bank, but I think we're gonna take them this year, I think, with Donna's intent, I think.
Started out as a community, and then there wasn't very many people using it, so then the recreation
Is that what it was?
students and the food bank students worked at doing it, and all the food went to the food bank.
How many are there, do we
I
know?
think there's like, there's 4 or 6 boxes.
Okay.
Well, maybe if there's no interest to begin with, then maybe it's.
I think it's something we maybe need to get. I mean, we've got a community newsletter that's starting now with the e-lead letter. Maybe it's something that, I mean, over time, people didn't know about it.
They also have some at the school, in the elementary
Yeah.
school, in the
Yeah.
gate.
Oh, yeah.
And I know
That
that there
community
was,
boxes?
I think that they were, I think that's the point of them, but I don't know if it's actually being used like that. But if we perhaps offered to help maintain them,
Mhm.
because I know that at our PSSC meeting last year, there was a couple that needed to be repaired, and they usually get is it the United Way that does like a day of caring?
Oh, yeah.
They usually come out and like fix a couple of them up, but maybe if we wanted to offer our students to fix a couple of them.
I'll bring it up.
Might be an interesting
Yeah,
idea.
the Horizon Committee Actions, they talk about food and they talk about those type of things.
Just advertising
Yeah.
that the opportunity is there.
Yeah, because I know
Break
when
the
I
light
think
on.
we initially started, I think there was a good uptake from the community using it.
Yeah.
I think like anything over time, we've got a lot of new people that have moved here. So I think we should always be diligent in ensuring that people know the
Yeah.
opportunities.
And I think we'll,
Again, food costs are where they are at the moment.
Yeah,
It's
true, right.
not a bad
we'll check and see,
initiative.
I can check with Donna and see when she's back in this week on, cause she had said that, I think last year, cause once the student for the food bank had finished the summer term,
Yeah.
the gardens just like weren't tended to.
Yes, I
And
heard
so-
that too from the
yeah,
food bank.
Yeah, so I think Donna, it's her personal mission to make sure that the gardens flourish all summer, so I think
Maybe we
that's
could
still her
put some
plan.
cute signage, like community garden, if that's
Something
the
that-
way.
yeah.
Good idea. I mean, people don't know it's there as well. so-
Maybe we'll circle, I'll check and see what the plan was, and then we can circle back and see what.
Cool.
Cause
what
to me,
that
like,
looks like.
even a space at Highland Park, you look at the Lions Club behind some of the equipment for the kids that are there. There's lots of spaces that are being underutilized with lawn that
Mhm.
could be to facilitate a organic growth.
I think
Think
it's a great
we
idea.
do.
You show me how to do some of the stuff?
We will
there.
circle back on those. Okay.
Okay, and with that, item number 6, mayor and councillor statements. Any, bring forward, Councillor Torrey?
So I've got more questions than statements. And so this has to do with the fatality that we had on 112 a few days back. There were, and I happen to know that because my son and I were making our way to Riverview and got stopped just after Ritchie Road and just before the cemetery that's on the left-hand side as you're going down there. And I've got pictures of it, just horrendous pictures of cars in ditches, cars looked like they were head-on collisions, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, we turned around and ended up going to the Dairy Queen in Salisbury instead. But the issue of these roads being quite dangerous, especially around, let's say, from as you get into the town. And, you know, not all the way into town, but there's a long section of, I see it all the time because we drive it all the time. And probably speed is one issue, but the biggest issue we see is people are just passing on solid lines constantly at high speeds. And, you know, there have been crashes there continues to be, and even the near misses. I can't tell you how many times that I've had to put on my brakes because somebody's coming straight at me. And they just ignore the rules of the road. So I guess it's a comment, but then I don't know if there's anything that we can do about that. I mean, you know, the only time we see police pretty much on that road is when they're coming. There was 6 of them there for this accident. I just don't know that we can just let it go that way without having some sort of dialogue with police or someone to figure out what do we need, like to deal with this, because, you know, we've got residents going up and down that road on a regular basis. You know, I've got family going up and down that road on a regular basis. It's not a safe road.
So I guess I'm not sure what we can do from a police perspective, I guess. I think that's a good example of the reason that there needs to be more of the proactive side of things. I'm not sure if there's, yeah, I'll leave that to council, I guess. I'm not sure what it's challenging because there's no enforcement that we can do, I would say.
Yeah.
And there is the question of no matter how much enforcement there is, will they catch all of those instances?
Well, and they're not going to. I think part of it is and this is my perception. My perception is that people that drive that road feel like it's just, you know, free game. You're never gonna get caught. There's no one ever here. You can go as fast as you want. You can pass as many people as you want. You can order solid lines if you want. No one's ever there.
We can certainly ask for some input.
Yeah.
From the RCMP on what can be done, whether it's
Okay.
speed radar signs or signage or.
Something,
Can be done, so
you know,
it's,
something
it's
that's,
definitely something we should be consulting. with.
You could offer to be a test bed for a radar camera ticketing system.
yeah, this, you know, as it turns out, there was a 70-year-old woman who died. Her passenger, I'm not sure whether she made it. She was in the hospital. And the driver of the other 2 cars, because there's 3 cars, ended up in hospital. And it was someone went over the center line. And I'm willing to bet somebody was trying to pass someone.
Thank you, Councilor Vittori.
So we can check with them on that and circle back on what they give us as a.
Any other
input or
additional
response.
comments? I will just add a comment, just adding, if the clerks could just put in the minutes, I mean, and hopefully people do read our minutes, but I think we've had 3 or 4 other inquiries for roads and some of the new ward areas, again, seems to be the hot topic. Just reiterating, I think the clerk's office did a good job with the mailouts on providing the DTI email as well as telephone number, but I think we should have like just almost every meeting, put that in the notes if we could, just to remind people that when they have those issues, they can contact DTI directly. We had one that I forwarded to the clerk's office today, but I had several on the weekend as well.
Which DTI has been out and looked at already. So
Yeah,
they
which
did
is
call.
good, which it works. It does work. That's what I want to call
I
it.
think the potholes are-
Squeaky wheel gets grease.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that will be in the newsletter.
That's
coming out
great.
this week.
Thank you very much. I mean, I had several others on more of a proactive basis where individuals, for instance, in the Riverbend area, which would be your ward, Joe,
Yeah.
talking about, as you come out of the 1, 2, at least 3 areas that come out of Riverbend or the roads, as you look up towards Riverview. They indicated that as the trees are starting to
Yeah,
bloom,
that's true.
they indicated that you can't actually see up the road and it becomes a nice, or I took a look out there this weekend because the trees aren't blooming yet. I can't really tell, but they said once that happens, essentially it's a blind spot on that road. So those are deterrents, I guess, as well on as well.
Yeah, it's the same, I mean, I have the same issue coming out of my road on the right-hand side. There, you have to kind of almost get your nose up into the road to be able to see the traffic coming down.
And we're just entering into that season last year. I guess last year we had the issue as well around the bridge with the borders that all built up there as well that we'll just have to be cognizant of. With that, any additional comments from council? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Moved by Councillor Thorne, seconded by Councillor Dykstra, all in favor?
Aye.